How do we keep women in the workforce? Well, one of the issues you heard about there is role models. I think this is amazingly important. We need to see more women in senior positions, which means we need to keep women in the pipeline in order to be able to promote them. I was at the State Department a while ago researching my new book on confidence, and we were talking to a group of women who came from all over the world. One of the issues that came up was the power of role models. And we spoke to a woman from Mali who told us an extraordinary story. She had been a village girl, and girls in Mali weren't expected to get an education. Her father had said no, and she fully expected by the age of 12 or 13 she would be married and working in the fields and trying to find a way for the boys in her family to get an education. And one day in her village, she was working in a field, and she looked up and she saw an extraordinary sight. It was a car driving into the village, and it was driven by a woman. She had never seen this in her life. A woman driving a car in Mali, unheard of. In her village, phenomenal. And because she was a pretty bold girl even then, she went up to the driver of the car and she started chatting to her. And she said, you know, how do you do this? How have you got to a position where you can drive a car? And the woman said, well, I don't just drive a car, I'm the manager of the bank in the local town. And this young girl was like, wow, you drive a car and you're a manager of the bank. And the woman said to her, I'm going to tell you one thing you need. You need an education. You need to go to your dad and you need to keep pushing him to let you go to school until he does. Because if you want to get out of this village, if you want to get into the driver's seat of the car and into the office in the bank, you need to be educated. So she went to her dad and she pushed him and she pushed him and she pushed him, and eventually he gave in. And she got an education and she left school and she got a traineeship at the bank and she became the manager of the local bank. But that wasn't enough for her. She was ambitious. She then decided that she needed to change the situation and the policies for other women in her country. So she decided to run for political office. She ran against 9 other men and she won the seat in an incredibly competitive, very vicious race because they'd never had a woman running before. She's now a member of parliament. That is the power of one role model. That woman who drove into the village that day had no idea that she was going to change somebody's life. Just by virtue sometimes of who you are and the position you are in, you are a role model to the other women around you. I think we should all remember the power that we can have and the impression that we can give to other women just because of where we are, particularly those of us who have been around for far too many years like I have and who have got into more senior positions. Yes, mentorship is important too. Yes, networking, it's great that you're here, is important. But part of it is just keeping those women in the workforce, doing what we can as mentors to our younger colleagues around the office, to try and hold them into the office. Sometimes it's as simple as driving a car into a village. I thought that was such an inspiring story because it showed what somebody could do when they saw the potential. She is now a member of parliament who is changing education policies for girls. The knock-on effect that one woman can have is just fantastic.